Hi, welcome to Digital Learning. I'm Connie Colosi, Director of Media Text and Digital Learning. And for our episode today, I have with me Alex Heeren. Alex is a Technology Integration Coordinator in the Digital Learning Department. And we're going to be talking to you today, or discussing and showing Microsoft OneNote and Class Notebook. And this is an application that is available to every teacher in Pinellas County, every administrator, every student in Pinellas County. So it's a resource we have available, and I'd like to know some more about it. So you've been making the rounds, talking to people about this.
I have, yeah. It's a really powerful tool for teachers, and it's something that's free for them to have access to. It solves a lot of the common questions we get for how do I send students information, how do I create a library of information for my students to reference, how do I receive digital work from my students without having them email me or setting up some sort of shared folder. It resolves a lot of those things, and it was designed with that in mind by Microsoft.
All right, so let's kind of start from the beginning here. You know, I'm a teacher, got my district issued laptop sitting in front of me. What do I do next?
Okay, well, the first thing you have to know how to do is get into Office 365. So the easiest way to do that is to go through Clever. My Clever looks a little bit different because I'm district-based. Your Clever portal looks different depending on what school you're at. But when you go into Clever and you click Login with Active Directory, you'll see Office as one of your, it's a big orange O, and you'll see it as an option. So when you click that, it'll log in, and it'll take you to a page that looks something like this, hopefully. So
okay, so what do we have there?
So this is the Office 365 homepage. I'm in Chrome, so I'm in a web browser. Office 365 is a whole suite of apps that are web-based. Microsoft has created online versions, essentially, of some of their most popular programs, like Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, things like that. There are also some other programs that are specific to online, so Sway and Forms, for example. But the key here is OneDrive. OneDrive is kind of online thumb drive. It's digital storage that you can access from anywhere. And it's the backbone of all the stuff in Office 365. When we create our class notebook that we're going to talk about in just a minute, if we're just making a class notebook, that's actually going to live in our OneDrive folder, in a folder called Class Notebooks. Actually, one thing that I've seen happen is teachers will make a class notebook, and then they're going through and doing spring cleaning and rearranging their folders, trying to organize them, and they'll move that class notebook folder around, or they'll rearrange that folder, and then their class notebooks all disappear. So I mention that just because it's important to note that folder that says class notebooks, don't move that. Don't delete that.
If you don't want to lose it,
if you don't want to delete all your stuff. But you can also go in there and rename it too. That's another question people have. Can I rename my notebooks? You would do that from OneDrive, because that's kind of the storage that holds all your stuff in Office 365.
So here we have a display of the various most commonly used applications, and there's a lot of them from Outlook, and of course teachers often use Outlook on their desktop, but they can also access this from any computer anywhere at home as well, and get their district email.
Yeah, and that's one of the big benefits. For example, checking your email. You can also use OneDrive instead of the H drive. People use the H drive. It's a network shared drive, and it's a great resource to back up your files, but the problem is if you're using the H drive, you can't access it from home without using some technical voodoo. So instead, if you use OneDrive and you just save your stuff in OneDrive, it'll be accessible to you anywhere, from a phone, device, whatever. So that's another reason that's a really good service. Teachers can get up to 1,000 gigabytes, a terabyte of storage on there. The district supports that already, so unless you're running some underground video bootleg site, you're not going to run out of storage on that. So it's a lot of space for teachers to have access to without paying any extra.
All right. And then, of course, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, you know, the classics, the staples, the meat and potatoes. But one of the things that the strongest feature, and it's really one of the most basic features, which allows, it happens all the time that I have a document that I want to send out, and I want to say, hey guys, what do you think of this document? And you know, get some input to it. But then people start making revisions to a document and sending it back to me, and now I have Alex's suggestion, and I have Sarah's suggestion, I have Laura's suggestion, and which version am I on? What have I saved? OneDrive takes all that away.
Right. So the old way of work was I'd make a version, I'd email you a copy of it as an attachment, you'd make changes, email it back, and we go back and forth, and it's hard to keep track. One of the cool things about OneDrive and Word Online and all these online programs, including OneNote, is if you're working online, the changes happen in real time. All I would have to do is go up here. I could, first of all, there's no losing your unsaved data. You don't have to hit Control S, Control S, Control S to save it all the time. You can see everything I do is all saved automatically up here. I could be in the middle of typing a word, my computer would break, I could go to a new computer, log in, and I'd be exactly where I left off, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But what's also cool about it is, if you share something by clicking this little share button here, then you can type in someone's email address. So I could, share this with you, and then I can actually see, as you're typing, where your cursor is. So it gives you in real time the ability to collaborate with multiple people. So you no longer have to send the email back and forth. You share it once, and then people are editing the master copy that's in my OneDrive.
You've been doing a lot of work with administrators at schools, and when I was school-based and it would come testing time, somebody would send out and say, "Okay, here, folks, here's the testing schedule," and then they'd go, "Oh well, hold up, no, we got to change. Here's the testing schedule." How does this help us with this problem?
Well, so one of the benefits of this actually kind of segues us into the OneNote discussion as well. They have a product specifically for school staffs called Staff Notebook. This confuses people sometimes, the difference between a class notebook, a staff notebook, and OneNote. So I want to take this opportunity just to kind of explain what that
Actually,
does.
I couldn't explain it, so would you?
Sure, yeah. So OneNote is the program, right?
Okay.
OneNote is the note-taking program. You've got sections and pages, and you can put pictures into it, and you can organize your stuff. That's the program. When you talk about class notebook and staff notebook, those are kind of like templates for OneNote.
Okay.
So if I use a staff notebook, for example, it's a pre-built template that has sections already, and I can add teachers to it. But the benefit of this is now, if I'm an administrator at a school, I can use my staff notebook and I can put all my information in one spot. I could put my bell schedule, my testing schedule, which is constantly changing. Well, if it's in my notebook, my teachers can just go there and look at it, and whatever they're seeing is always the latest version because it's always updated in real time. I don't have to send out a new email every time I change it.
Wow.
Phone lists, as this, your school's personnel change throughout the year, just always can reference that one place. If the staff watching this or anything like me, I got this packet of papers at the beginning of the year and they immediately got lost throughout the year. I could never find them when I needed them.
Right.
So the benefit of having a staff notebook is it's all in one place.
And I can go to it whenever I need. Hey, what's the procedure for this? And I'm not searching through dusty files in the classroom. And typically the only time I have time to think about that is when I'm at home anyway.
Right, right. Well, and then to take that to a class notebook. So staff notebooks for principals and staff members, right? Well, a class notebook is the exact same thing. It's just called something different. It's different words, but it's teachers and students instead. So you have this, what's called a content library, where the teacher can put all their stuff that the students are supposed to reference. But if their students were anything like my students, you probably don't want the students to be able to edit all your content, right? You want them to be able to see it, but not go in and make changes and type things because they might break it. Sometimes kids do that. So what the content library does is it allows a teacher to upload stuff, even if it's stuff they've already got. So you can put Word documents onto a page, PowerPoints, you can put them onto a page in OneNote without having to recreate them from scratch. And then students can go back and reference that. Whether they have devices in class, they can reference it from home, they can reference it from their mobile devices, and they'll always have access, which is awesome. That's the number one feature teachers generally use the class notebook for, in my experience. Now, in addition, you also get private notebooks for each kid that only the teacher and that student can see. So then a student can then do their homework there. They can do assignments there. And the teacher can then review them. And again, because it's all on Office 365, that's in real time. So I can, as a, let's say, ELA teacher, I can watch my students typing their essays. And I can click student by student and see as they're doing it. And I can give real-time feedback. And I can say, hey, I like your thesis statement here, but did you really do your outline? Are you following, are you doing enough supporting statements, without having to wait for them to turn it in and grade it with a hard copy piece of paper that, again, sometimes paper just runs off and gets lost. And having it all in one place is really convenient.
So you're telling us about this. Can you show us an example of a notebook?
Sure. So let me just point out here, there's a couple apps. Again, can be confusing to people. I've got OneNote and I've got Class Notebook. What the Class Notebook app does, I'll go ahead and open it just to show you. The Class Notebook app is the back end managing of the template, right? So if I want to make a new one or add students or teachers, you can have co-teachers in a Class Notebook. This is where I'd go. But in terms of actual content, when I'm putting my stuff for my kids to see, I'm not going to use this at all. This is just setting it up, right? You have to set it up online because all of the students and things like that, their permissions are based off of their logins or usernames, and so it has to go through the internet to do that. So I don't know we probably don't have time to build a whole new one here, but I just wanted to show that.
I want to mention too, just quickly, teachers are pretty familiar with their district's credentials. You know, we use them every day. They use them for focus. They use them. Students may be less familiar with their district credentials, and so I just want to point out that for the student, that's their what we lovingly refer to as the R2D2. So we have typically a letter, a number, dot, a letter and a number, and so their email, every student has an email, and it is their R2D2 at pcsb.org. And then they, we have a district issued password, but then they can get in there and change that to something that is private to them. So, you know, we're still trying to get the word out on student logins.
Yeah, and it's important that students learn, as we're trying to teach digital literacy, how important it is to have secure passwords. Having an insecure password is something that can be a lifelong bad habit, to be realistic. So that's something we want to emphasize with them as well. So going back to this, so the Class Notebook app here, that's just the background management piece. Once we've built it and added students, we don't need to go back in there that much. We're going to go into the OneNote app to put our actual stuff in. So this is going to give me, open up in a new tab. So I'm still in my web browser. I'm still in Chrome. And it's going to show me all my notebooks. I have a bajillion notebooks in here because I do a lot of this. So I can see the ones I've recently accessed. I can see the ones that I own, the ones that people have added me to. And I can go just to my class notebooks. So let me find one that I assume my demo class notebook is probably a good one to show. That's why I have it. And so it's going to load up into OneNote Online. And so a lot of people, there is a desktop app for this called OneNote 2016. So some people use the desktop app, they prefer it. That's fine if you want to use that. They talk to each other. Every change you make in one place will sync to the other place. They all work nicely together. I'm going to focus just on the online version here, and you can tell you're in the online version because it says OneNote Online.
Ah, tricky.
That's the trick.
So
and I'm in a web
Alex,
browser.
you know what? Before you get too much further and dive into this, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get into the meat and potatoes, the nitty-gritty of OneNote Online.
Excellent.
So hope you'll stay tuned and learn more about OneNote.